Hi, everybody. We're doing this in one take. Just like so. So, hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We are here to talk about Mr. Robot. Season 3, Episode 5, Runtime Error. In simple terms,
Yes.
basically, this episode is... It's not actually in one shot, but it's done to look like it's in
Yes,
one
it's
shot,
simulated one shot.
which is a cool, very cool effect.
Yes.
Very cool episode. Basically divided, the perspective is divided into two halves. You've got the Elliot half and the Angela half, more or less. So Elliot goes to Evil Corp, realizes it's a little late because he's already at his desk that he's been fired. Then has to evade security while he attempts to figure out how to stop Stage 2, which he realizes is in full effect, and this is the day of Stage 2. He eventually kind of fails in his mission and basically gets escorted out of the building. We see there's a big riot happening, or a protest that turns into a riot. When the rioters break into Evil Corp, the camera follows them, and we are now with Angela. And Angela is on the phone with Irving, who represents the Dark Army, and we're hearing that she has to go do this particular function, or, well, supposedly Elliot's supposed to do it, but she's not letting them know that he's been fired. So she goes ahead and takes it upon herself to do the little tasks that need to be completed to get Stage 2 to finality. We do not see the end of Stage 2 yet. The building, the other building, hasn't blown up yet, as far as we know.
Nope.
Meanwhile, every time they go onto the elevator's still working the right, which is a little weird. I was like, don't shut that off, or whatever. It's working.
It's not a fire.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. You get the safety. But every time they get it, they use the elevator pretty cool in that it's always got the little TV screen on.
Yes.
And that's where we're learning about, the UN vote's happening, and Congo is annexed by China. So the thing that White Rose wanted happens. Although he did also say, she said, I guess, a few episodes back, no matter what happens, we're going to still do this Stage 2 thing.
Yep.
I don't care about the vote.
On the date. Same day as the vote.
So it ends
No
with...
quid pro quo.
Yes. It ends with
Quid pro
Angela...
fuck you.
That too. Language. Now we just got an advisory.
This is the first time we ever cursed.
All right, so we can't do it in one take. We have to take two. Oh, move the camera.
Fudge it.
But we do say the ending is Elliot has come back into the building and managed to find Angela and confront her. He had I guess I should back that up. When he goes outside, Darlene meets him and has some very important information. Hey, A, I've been working for the FBI. What? B, that night when I followed you as Mr. Robot, I saw you get picked up by Angela, so she's working for the Dark Army. What? Oh. So he goes back in, with this knowledge, and he confronts her, and it's like, something you want to tell me? Blackout. And now we're up to episode 6. So, Paul, what did you think of this episode?
I enjoyed it. It was very, very good, I thought. They were very creative in how they stayed with the with the characters throughout, and especially as he was Elliot was interacting with employees to keep himself from being caught. That was very amusing. That was,
in my mind, the highlight of the episode was the various interactions he had. Tense and yet comedic in this weird, darkly comedic way. It was brilliant. It was great. It was really, really good. Yeah. The first one he has with his cubicle mate, where he says aloud what he's thinking. I think he's attempting to talk to Mr. Robot. It's kind of cool that he's talking to Mr. Robot, but he's also in some ways talking to us, the audience.
Yes.
He's
aware that he's been. I mean, from the first episode, he's been saying, "I'm talking to you," and he means, he means a character he's created, but it's us.
Yeah, but you also get this cool we hear some computer. Scratching going on in the background.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And the fact that it's a runtime error, and he discusses what runtime errors are. That, hey, I'm going through my ritual, which is I go to work, I get on the elevator, I go to my job, and somewhere in here something goes wrong. It's the runtime error when something gets in the way of your ritual. And so he is experiencing it, which is the fact that he doesn't realize what's happened the last 4 days.
Yes.
Because he's been drugged and, basically taken out of the
equation,
game.
Yes.
So he's finally just woken up, more or less.
yes.
Like, oh, so his cubicle buddy is going on about some sexual escapades, and he says something aloud, which is basically, yeah, you know, people who brag about that kind of thing are usually just feel a lot of shame or are just really unhappy people, and that, you know, just gets a reaction from the cubicle. His first reaction is, well, screw you, and then, oh man, you're right. Gosh, you know, I really haven't had a lot of sex, and I'm just a prostitute. And then you hear him kind of elaborating a story about the one potential escapade he had, which is kind of fun there. But then, also, a little addition to that, the tail end of that joke is that even though these, you know, Elliot doesn't really like this guy at all. In fact, is very happy when the guy says he won't talk to him anymore. Briefly.
Yes.
When Elliot says, oh, distract the guys for me, like the guy instantly is like, yep, I'll distract the security guard so you can get away, guy who the security guards are obviously coming after. So it seems that part felt very Matrixy to me.
Oh yeah.
Where Neo is being talked out of the
Yes.
out of the evil corporation he works for.
Yes, yes.
So
That part was, you know, so especially when he went under his desk and he looked up to the camera to see us and say, "Oh, I better get out of here."
So there's that fun interaction. There's the interaction where he's now trying to find a terminal to get onto because he's locked out. So he pinpoints what he thinks is a good target. This woman is like sniffing whiteout. So he's like,
and she's older.
I think I found a good target.
I think basing it largely upon her age and thinking that she wouldn't be, you know,
and the fact that she's doing the sniffing, and she's kind of like, yeah, right. She's probably not up on security.
Like, oh, all this technology, I don't know, but no.
She's like
exactly on her
She
stuff.
gives him this laundry list of ways that she's secured herself, but she's really quick to point out the guy who doesn't do that. And so it's like proudly goes up and it's very passive aggressive. I guess it's just aggressive. Get ready, Jerry, or whoever it is. And so, so the guy who kind of skates by gets called out, and basically Elliot is able to con him into using the terminal, which is very nice. Also, there's a brief moment. It's where Elliot goes onto the stairs to avoid the security guards.
Yes.
And he's trying to get back in, but he can't because his badge won't work. Well, there's a guy who stepped into the hallway to talk.
Phone call, right.
And the phone call he's having, it sounds like he's talking to, I'm guessing, his like ex-wife.
Or something.
It's
funny, because I wonder if, I feel like he said something about I'll get him or something. He's probably talking about his kid. But initially, I think Elliot might have thought, "Oh, you'll get me." Oh no!
Yeah, right. I think you're right, because the first time I heard that too, I was like, "Oh, he's been talking to the security folks." But he's talking about his kid, because then at some point he says something like, "Oh, you have to bring that up."
Yeah,
that's the only time I said I hate him. just out of nowhere. So in the middle of that, you know, obviously personal phone call, he's like, all right, you fine, get out of here.
Yeah.
And so Elliot goes out. And then the ultimate tense comedic beat is where Elliot realizes he got no other choice. The hallway's filled with these folks. He steps into a meeting.
Yes.
Just to bide time. And he commences wasting time in this meeting. And the time wasting, it's just so awkward. It's just, you're like, oh, because everyone's watching him. But he's like, oh, let me just answer this email. Oh, almost got it. Just checking it out. And the guy comes and stands next to him. And then there's this moment of like, oh, you're right, it is the wrong room.
Yeah, first he and he has to see his email to see, oh, no, it is the wrong room.
Oh, yeah, I'm one floor down. Then notices the people are still out in the hall, so he still can't leave. And that beat is awesome. He's like, yep, you're right, I should be somewhere else.
And I'll sit back down.
It's just like, oh. And then it obviously leads into this, actually fairly sage advice that he gives in some ways to himself as well, because he's basically like, you know what, these times when we're on a deadline, like Elliot's on a deadline, sometimes there's just so many variables and you can't make it all work. You just gotta breathe. You just gotta breathe and get it done. And I'm sure this guy's like, screw you, get out of here. But it's actually so. He then gets out of the thing, but then anyway.
They see
find
him going into the elevator, so
Yeah.
he hasn't gained that much.
Although interestingly, he conjures Mr. Robot into the elevator.
Yes, that's true.
But Mr. Robot's like, yeah, this isn't really me. You've
Right.
just put out a version of me to help
Yes,
you in this
yes.
moment.
So
That's interesting that he can do that. That he can pull up like a simulacrum of his simulacrum, almost like, help me thing that's not you, but it's fine.
It's funny how the way you describe it almost sounds like he's gotten a power and ability or something. I mean, I think as long as you're not trying to think of it as, oh, he's getting in this situation so he can use this ability, when it's,
okay.
I think it's just a disorder, and then I don't think it has hard and fast rules. I don't even think he thinks of it like, now I need to call up.
Well, I thought he was saying something like, I need help, I wish you were here, or something like that.
Well, he was saying, what would he do at a point like this? And he's just that kind of mind where it's like, I'm gonna come in to help you, or at least to talk and berate you the way that I would, to get you to realize that you don't have any options at this point.
Yeah.
But
it's a good point, because I do see it as like he didn't have the option to bring Mr. Robot, so he brought the next best thing. But you're saying, no, actually, it's part of his psychosis. And it just...
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's probably one of the things they prefer to be ambiguous, whether or not it's creativity or, or illness. Like, okay, that's how I think about the situation. In his head, it's like he's there talking to him. There are times when he doesn't have as firm a grip on it, so when he's talking to himself, he speaks out loud. But,
Yeah, right. Oh, I thought that was for you. So he is escorted out of the building. You know what? I thought they actually escorted him out of the building rather politely, considering the guy had just been attempting to avoid them for the last several minutes.
But
they didn't manhandle him and throw him out.
He hadn't assaulted anyone while he was doing it.
Right. So they were just like, please, get out.
And for part of the time, they didn't realize where he was. So.
Right. They didn't know what he was up to.
Yeah.
But he did figure out, the plan is still in place, and bad things are happening, and oops.
Yes.
But so as he gets outside, the protest is basically just that this is what democracy looks like. I think
this is what democracy. Oh, yeah, something like that.
I think that's the chant that goes
on. It was
on.
a response. It was call and response, right? He was like, something democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Maybe I've been saying the same thing.
I thought they might have been saying this, but something like that. It was cool. What I liked was when he meets up with Darlene, they fade that out temporarily. Well, he didn't have to go through the thing of him shouting to her to get you heard. They're just talking.
Yes.
And it's kind of nice.
When you were saying, now see, I'm stuck on it, like, is this what democracy looks like? This is what democracy looks like. Oh. Which, is interesting. Like, is this what's going on? Yeah. And no, this is what's going on, so.
Well, considering, I guess we can talk about that real fast. So we see this protest.
Yes.
Which then becomes this riot.
Yes.
And then we learn, the Dark Army put them up to it. At least a significant number of the rioters are actually paid by the Dark Army.
Well, we don't know what to wish. We don't know.
So it just feels like it's like, oh, look at this. The people are rising up. Yeah. But it was all a cover to get the Dark Army to blow up this stuff. It's like, oh, shoot. You're like, yeah, the people are going to come back. No, they're still being led. But anyway. Darlene just drops these huge knowledge bombs on him.
Yes.
Working with the FBI all this time. You knew that was coming eventually.
Yes.
And they decided to make it arrive in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, to me, one of those things where I thought Elliot could have been more skeptical was the whole, what choice did you leave me? I had to bug you for myself.
Yeah, exactly. I agree that it's a little trouble, but it is his sister. Maybe you feel like
sister,
the one person he trusts implicitly.
Right, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
Although Mr. Robot doesn't, but
no.
But
no, maybe that's why he was really so.
That side of him doesn't.
Sensed something was really wrong.
Do you think there will be an episode in the future that will show any of that week what happened in the weekend while Elliot was asleep?
I mean, my personal instinct is no.
I mean, I assume you could easily not show that, but maybe there's some information, something that happens where
It's
Mr.
possible.
Robot and Tyrell and
like,
Angela are working together.
Certainly, like, we didn't even touch on Tyrell. So some of the
Right.
things we could see with Tyrell are things that occurred over those couple of days.
Yeah.
You know, I mean...
And Darlene had been, she says, I've been trying to get in touch with you all weekend. We don't know what that did for her with the FBI.
She
The
may have
FBI is
said
probably
something
really on her now.
Right.
Because they're like, wait, you said you do what? And now...
Well, she had to break away again to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like where she is still saying, hey, you're going to have to, do this my way, if you want this to happen. So I still feel as if whatever is going on is still under that sort of arrangement or agreement or, like, hey, this thing is happening and I'm your only connection to it and, it's just...
Yeah, I feel like he will forgive her to some extent. He will, in order to work with her, I think. He being Elliot.
Oh, I meant the FBI.
Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like at the moment, Elliot's like, but I feel like he'll be like, okay, yes, it's you and me trying to stop stage 2.
Perhaps. I mean, that might be his only option. I just, in a way, I feel like this conversation with, is going to be crucial. The one that we haven't seen happen yet.
Yeah. Right, the one with Angela,
yeah.
right. So he is also informed that Angela is setting him up, so he races back to the building, which we don't see that, but
No.
he eventually does. Somehow manages to find her. That's pretty impressive. In that high, I mean...
Well, she's supposed to go back to her... She goes back to her floor to meet that person, and that's what she sees.
Was that her floor? Was that what it was?
I think
Probably
so,
what it was. It
'cause
wasn't
I
just
think
some
it was
random
like,
floor?
I think you said reception on your floor, I think.
Okay,
They said.
all right. Well, that would make it easier then.
I think...
Wasn't just like, I pick at random floor 35. Okay, good. So Angela, so we're up to kind of Angela. So the riders go in, they're spray painting stuff, they're beating people up. We do hear some gunshots to start the riot, but we don't see necessarily people with guns inside the building.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like, tear gas or something, or...
Yeah, I think a guy gets hit with a bottle. The cop gets hit with a bottle to start it. We see a guy holding a bottle.
Yeah, we see him walking in.
And then...
Yeah.
And so then also an interesting darkly comic beat is the riders get on the elevator with the guy. With the guy, and they're like, we use his badge, and the whole time you're like, are they going to just shoot this guy? And he's expecting it. He's like... And at one point, he looks, and you get this, they look back at him like, are you trying to see our faces? And he's immediately like, and then they just leave him because they have their job to do. They are Dark Army, and they're like, we got to know.
Well, or they're there to spray stuff, and that's what they're there to do. I mean,
they seem more organized. They seem more like, we got to get to this floor and do this thing. Right? They got on an elevator. Why would they care what floor they were on? You know what I mean? Like, they could just be like, hey, blah, 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 blah.
That's a good point. Unless they're like, we know this core thing is on this floor. I don't know.
I guess you're right.
But I don't want to take it for granted.
Like, now we go to the second floor.
Now
the third floor.
It's like, we're the fifth crew. Let's go to the fifth floor.
We're going to skip up to 27. So I got the feeling that that's what I got out of it. Was that they're professionals. They're not just going to beat the guy up randomly. They're just like, we got a job to do.
Feel like,
don't look at us, but we got to,
That's true.
You go your way, we'll go ours.
Right.
But it was a nice scene. So Angela gets the information, hey, you got to go to this floor with the secure room and the HSMs. You got to get a backup and do a thing. And meanwhile, this riot is happening the whole time.
Right.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of the riot scene, the prison riot scene from Natural Born Killers. I don't know. That's back in the day, but I just remember there's this chaos happening and people are kind of doing their best to get through it.
Oh, okay.
And so she does, and one of the ways she does this, I'm skipping forward a little bit, but when she takes the mask off the guy who'd been maced, and so she's using the F Society mask, but then she can't keep it on very long because it's got mace residue on it, and so she's like, and it's on and it's off, and it very Mr. Robot-y, right? She's got these two personalities. She's with the rioters, but she's also with E Corp, and you can tell there's a fight going on inside her as well. Like, I don't want to kill people. She asked again, you did clear out the building, right? Yeah, it's been done.
Yeah.
And she doesn't believe them, I have a feeling.
She's smart, she doesn't.
But she's rationalizing it that way. Like, okay, I asked, and they said yes. So I'm going to take that.
Yeah, I mean, if she, if they ignore her and kill people in order to achieve their objective, then conceivably she could be committing a part of a crime that happened to her. Where
and it already happened in some way. Well, it didn't already happen, but she kind of set a murder in motion. She did
kind of set a murder in motion, yeah.
When she gets seen by this person, like, hey, what are you doing in here? Blah, 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 blah. Then the mace guy comes in. Anyway.
I should go back to see if she gave her a real name.
That's a good point. She gave a name.
Yes.
We don't know for a fact it was a real name.
Yeah.
But she gives a name out to Irving. We'll take care of it. Like, I was seen. Blah, blah. And so the implication being we're just, okay, we'll bump this person off. I guess they could pay her off, but whatever. You get the feeling they were gonna get rid of this person. So yeah, she is really tied up in the criminality of this thing.
Yes.
But and she manages to keep surviving. Like, the guard sees that she's got the wrong badge and is like, "You come with me." Then he gets knocked out.
That was.
And you're wondering, was he knocked out by a random rioter? Was he knocked out by?
I kind of feel like
felt random.
He was somebody they would want to knock out.
Yeah.
Security guard. What? Wait, don't you think we should make friends with him first?
Yeah. So she manages to work her way through the building and
achieve what you need to achieve.
She did, and it's interesting. Tense scenes involving computer hacking.
Yes.
I think are difficult to pull off.
Okay.
They managed to pull it off, but like the idea of, let me just plug this in. Now I'm gonna type in the password. Oh, I need a USB port. I'll go find one of those in a bag. Like that, they did it well. But boy, that is it is a challenge.
Yes.
That could easily have been like momentum. So kudos to them for doing. No. We'll do the computer jargony thing and still make it cool. And they pulled it off.
Yeah, maybe one day in the future, we'd be like, oh, another riot to, hide how you have to use a computer? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're right. In the physicality of all the rioters and stuff, that part is like, wah. And then they're like, no, let's just settle this down. She's in a secure room, and she's hacking. They're like, oh, it got quiet all of a sudden. But yeah, it's, obviously it was very small in the way that it was centered in this one building and on, at this one place in time. It kind of, felt like an episode of 24 almost, right? Sure. It was like, these are the 45 minutes of this episode. Yes. And so we didn't see some of the larger world. We hear Irving's voice. We don't see White Rose or anything like that.
Newscasts,
we don't see Tyrell.
Stuff happening.
So it is. It's focused on the two of the most interesting people on the show, Elliot and Angela, and a little mix of Darlene. Yes. But
and, Arthur, no.
And the cubicle mate.
No, on the phone.
Irving
was there.
Irving Berlin. I believe he's on the. So yeah, it was a very compelling episode. I'm forgetting the trailer for the next episode. Any insights from the trailer?
Well, the FBI agent there, she's there,
Okay. So it's continuing.
Yeah.
There's not a flashback. It's like, hey, this thing's gonna explode.
Apparently.
So we feel like the mission is back on, despite Elliot's attempts to derail it. Seems like she's delivered the package now to the guy eating the sandwich.
Yes.
That means that it's back on.
Yes.
So as of now, unless something changes, there's going to be an explosion and people are going to die in a big building explosion.
Yeah. I still feel like, that was another rant I could have. But
all right, what is your...
Well, it's funny hearing people talk about actually wanting the Phase 2 to go through. It's not our world, so sure, have a further...
26% unemployment.
Yeah.
They threw that number out. Like, oof.
Yeah. have a further eroding of order. I don't want that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't see that being like a mid-season type thing anyway. If that's going to happen, it either happens or it doesn't. Like, since this isn't an end of the season episode coming up, I wouldn't think they would just blow up the building on episode 6. Like, I think they would not blow up the building in episode 6. We saved it, and now we go through the consequences, as opposed to that kind of a earth-shattering moment would be
the way that I perceive it, and it's hard for me not to perceive it that way, is that if
you're rooting for the bad guys in that situation.
Yeah, I don't want to root for the bad guys.
Yeah.
If this bad thing happens, it's hard for me to see how White Rose gets her comeuppance. It's like, oh, good, E-coin, or not E-coin, Bitcoin wins. Yay. I guess some people consider that a happy ending, but, it's like, no, I like then make some effort to start something new that looks like it's some hope for it, or, okay, we've foiled the thing that was really nefarious and really should be stopped.
I think it is going to be ultimately foiled.
Okay.
I do feel that.
Right.
Now, this show has some dystopian stuff about it, so it wouldn't be a shocker if the building explodes.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's going to stop it.
Right.
One other kind of funny beat that I forgot while Elliot is doing his race around the building trying to avoid people was we get a call back to his attempt to digitize everything.
Oh,
the woman was like, you know what? Hey. Good, glad to see you. You know what? We did it, and we're working on that project to digitize the files. Thank you. You know what? Really, he's like, oh yeah, okay, thank you. Which is like, this isn't the time. I gotta go to a thing. But it was
you're gonna be like, it's like, wait, I just saw him.
Yeah.
Sorted out.
Yeah. The first time he gets an actual like attaboy, really.
Yeah, it was
wow, cool, that's great. Yeah, this is no. If you'd have told me this 3 days ago, I mean, fine. Awesome episode. Yeah. Awesome. I really can't say enough good things about it. And we look forward to episode 6 next week.
Yes.
Come back. We will also be talking about the mid-season finale.
Oh, yes.
Of Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
Next week.
Yes, next.
So good things happening.
Yes.
Boom. For Paul, this is Matt.
Oh, yes.
Saying bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.